Welcome to the August 1st, 2024 meeting of the Riverfront Design Committee. My name is Ricardo Montoya. I am the chair of the committee. The agenda and documents are located at https://okc.primegov.com/public/portal. You would then select the Riverfront Design Committee meeting, then click on an agenda item and the relevant documents will come up below the item. Please see the agenda for additional information regarding meeting procedures and the review process. If you are parked in the Sheridan Walker parking garage north of John Rex Elementary School or in the Arts District parking garage south of City Hall, staff can provide a parking validation ticket to you. Keith, will you please call the roll?
Montoya.
Present.
Prado.
Present.
Dean.
Present.
Heisen.
Present.
Lyons.
Present.
Postig.
Present.
Ramirez. Templeton.
Present.
Fairquham.
Thank you. Item 2, approval of minutes for June 6, 2024.
Thank you so much. Sorry, I was waiting for the screen to change.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes from the June 6, 2024 meeting.
Templeton second.
Thank you. Item 3, cases withdrawn, none. Item 4, continuous requests, none. Item 5, consent docket, none. And item 6, cases for individual consideration, SRCA 24-00013.
Good morning, Laura Griggs, Planning Department. Thank you all for coming. Scott ruined your perfect attendance today, unfortunately, but I'm glad to have 8 of you here. I'm going to run through the PowerPoint. I actually have added the pictures that were in the attachment that showed the building through the years. So I put those in the PowerPoint. So this is how the building currently looks on Exchange. The portion that has been painted is the front portion that is bricked. Actually, I should say it this way. The whole building has been painted, but the unpainted brick portion was from right at this point here. And we have pictures of what that looked like before. It also had an awning over it. And if you look at the windows through the pictures that I show, you can clearly see that those have been changed as well. And so that is actually part of the application, is to change out the windows. So here, I happened to take this picture last year when we were working on the building next door that you might remember that we still don't have resolution. The owner of the current application last year owned the building next door, but he no longer owns it. So that's why we haven't been able to have any resolution of that one. You might recall you asked staff to get with the owner, not the tenant, because the tenant that showed up said he had nothing to do with it. And so at this point, you see that the awning was corrugated metal. You're going to see that change over time. Here's a picture from the Oklahoma County Assessor's website from April of 21. And this is from Google Maps from January of 2020. The windows have already been changed in these pictures. And this is, I think, in the middle of converting it from what the awning looked like, which you'll see in the next picture, and what it looked like with corrugated metal. And this is from March of 2017. And this is from June of 2013, and you can see that what the awning had on it had like shingles. And this, I'm going to go back. You can see in March of 2017 what the windows look like, and those are the new windows. And so when I go to 2013, that's what the windows used to look like, and they were totally different. And then here's March of 2012, June of 2009, May of 2007, September of 2002, and that was before the Scenic River Overlay Design District was established toward the end of 2007. So this picture and this one were before the district was established. And then this is a close-up of the brick, so you can see the brick was the buff-colored brick. And this is a picture I happened to have taken back in 2016 when we were working the first time with the building next door. And so adjacent, we have the convenience store to the north. We have this building that you're familiar with, which was the application from last year. That was buff-colored brick that was painted black. And then across the street, you have the Greek restaurant. So I'm going to go back and we'll land on that one right there. So all of the items up for consideration is work that has already been completed. There currently is no violation on this. I could have turned it in when I was made aware, but I was wanting to work with them to try and get some resolution on this. The property is for sale, and that's what's brought this about. So this building was constructed in 1952, and that front portion that I was referencing, which is about 24 feet deep and 50 foot wide, so we have about 24 feet and 50 foot wide is where the brick is on the building. And as you could see from those pictures, it was originally kind of a buff or yellow colored brick. So in 1992, there was I can't say that word, sorry. There was a survey done of historic resources, and it identified the areas surrounding the farmers market, including this building, as potentially eligible for the National Register of Historic Places as an historic district. Recently, a review of the area by the State Historic Preservation Office and the Department of Agriculture resulted in an official determination of eligibility for the district. For the regulatory purposes of the National Historic Preservation Act, this has the same effect as being listed in the National Register. At this time, no formal National Register listing of the district has been initiated. That is not information that we had last year. You got it, okay, no, I was just trying to see if he was the applicant for this case. Yes, okay, I'm sorry, the applicant is here, thank you, appreciate it. So I just wanted to point that out, because that just happened within the last month that all of this was going down. So I've included in the staff report information you're familiar with that you see anytime an unpainted brick building gets painted. Staff has no issue with the changing of the windows. We have no issue with removing what was clearly a non-historic awning, whatever you want to call that, fake mansard that was removed at all. The issue we have is with the painting of unpainted brick. And so what you're seeing here is the reference to all of the guidelines we have in both the Scenic River handout as well as the Building Conservation and Rehabilitation Guidelines for Oklahoma City. The property is zoned I-2, moderate industrial. And as I indicated earlier, I showed you pictures from 2002 to 2024. And so you can see that up until the last year, the brick had not been painted. And since 23, the brick has been painted. And I clarified here that Scenic River Overlay Design District was established in August of 2007. So any work done prior to that would not have had to comply with the Scenic River Overlay Design District guidelines or regulations. And I clarified here that the windows were replaced between 2013 and 2017. Again, staff has no issues with that. That the awning was changed from shingles to corrugated metal in 2017 and then completely removed after May of 2023. Staff has no issues with that as well. In other design districts, there have been some instances involving the unauthorized painting of previously unpainted masonry where the commission has asked applicants to research methods to remove paint for historic masonry and to provide documentation of those methods to the committee or commission prior to determine whether it's feasible to remove the paint. Staff is always concerned because sandblasting is not an option because you can totally ruin brick, as most of you know. Even power washing can ruin brick. A lot of brick is softer than others. In some cases, the brick was not meant to be painted in the first place, but there's no way you can easily get it off without basically ruining the brick, making it a sponge, which will then cause further problems in the future. And so we are sometimes in a really bad spot, because while we don't support painting unpainted brick, sometimes it's almost impossible to get the paint off the brick without damaging the brick. There are a few products out there that, depending on the brick, can work. So there are three options that staff saw in this. One would be to approve the portion of the application for painting the unpainted brick, because that is an option to you. The second would be to continue that portion for painting the unpainted brick, with the condition that the applicant research methods to remove paint for historic masonry and to provide documentation of those methods. And in this case, I say to the RDC, but since the adoption of the ordinance on Tuesday, I will have to change that and say to the Urban Design Commission, because beginning next month, cases in River will go before the Urban Design Commission, prior to determining whether it is feasible to remove the paint or deny the portion of the application for painting unpainted brick. So on staff recommendations, and I tried to make it clear, and I know in the past I haven't necessarily been clear, and no, I'm not looking straight at you, Dana. I saw there was like three possible avenues to go. You all can come up with any other option you want. One option would be to approve the application for all the items that have already been done, which is the painting of the building, including the unpainted brick, removing the awning, and replacing the windows. So that is one option. Number two, you could approve the portion of the application for painting the building, excluding the brick, removing the awning, and replacing the windows. So approve it with the exception of painting unpainted brick, and then continue that portion for painting the unpainted brick with the condition, as I previously referenced, about having them research different methods to remove it and come back, and that would be to the Urban Design Commission. A third option would be approve the portion of the application for painting the building, excluding the brick, removing, and you would also be approving removing the awning and replacing the windows. And I have to apologize when I say installation of signs. Yes, I took this from the staff report last year, and that had signs, so I just crossed that out. I should have deleted that, the staff report. The second thing on that option would be to deny that portion of the application for painting the unpainted brick portion of the building. So do you have questions or need clarification? Because that's a lot of options for you.
I have one question, Laura. Can you clarify what you said about the determination of historic eligibility for the Farmers Market District?
Say that again.
Can you clarify what you said about the
Okay.
survey of historic eligibility for the Farmers Market
So what
District?
has happened recently is that the State Historic Preservation Office and the Department of Agriculture did a survey of this area, and Katie, who unfortunately is out of town, isn't here, actually had been in communication with them. And based on their survey, there is an official determination of eligibility for a district. Now, Farmers Market itself, the building is on the National Register, so this was looking at everything around it, and they made a determination that it is eligible as a district, and it's a specified area, and I don't have the north, south, east, west boundaries, but it does go over to Exchange, and so they looked at everything on this side of Exchange. And it states that for regulatory purposes, and this is probably the confusing part, for regulatory purposes of the National Historic Preservation Act, this official determination of eligibility for the district has the same effect as being listed in the National Register, although they don't have an application yet for that. I don't know if anybody's working on an application for that.
So does painting this building jeopardize the eligibility of the district?
And I would, being one building, I can't definitively say whether it does or not, but I think if it would have, that would have been some information that Katie and I would have discussed. There are significant, I mean, there's several buildings around Farmers Market, and I would say the majority of those are eligible. Some don't look the best, but it won't take much to spiff them up some. So I think from that standpoint, how I would take that is there are certain options available to people for, say, tax credits or whatever when something is listed. And so when I say, when this says it has the same effect as being listed in the National Register, I interpret that to mean that is open to people, even though they haven't officially designated the district because of this action by the state and the Department of Agriculture, that avenue would be open to them.
Okay, thank you for that clarification.
Okay. Anybody else? So the applicant is here. And so if I will ask him to come up and put his sign in on the sign-in sheet. And one thing I would like to clarify, because I had tried to reach out, I wanted to clarify when you purchased the property. Oh, and you can speak there. Yeah, that's okay.
Say hi, Laura.
Yeah, okay, that's not a problem.
Thank you for everything that you do, by the way.
And when did you purchase it?
I think we closed in July or August of 20.
Of 20?
Yep.
Okay, I wanted to clarify that because I was trying to figure that out from looking at the county. It was kind of hard because sometimes it's not a name, it's the address of the building, and that's why I wanted to confirm that.
I mean, I know we're talking about brick, but to put this into context, and I own 7 or 8 buildings in the farmers market. So I've been down there since 2006 when I moved to Oklahoma City. So a lot of experience in the neighborhood. This is a homeless and criminal nightmare and has been since I've owned this property. As everyone probably knows, it's gotten incredibly more severe in the past 5 years. Variety of things that have contributed to that probably. And as everyone knows, Oklahoma City Police have their hands tied behind their back until measures and MAPS 4 and other initiatives sort of have time to take hold. So we as the building owners are left paying for everything. I have a $75,000 truck that is completely red from graffiti parked in front of this building from homeless people that happened about 6 months ago. The DA filed felony charges. Luckily, we found that guy. This building had people living in it for 2 weeks that I didn't know about. In January of 21, all of my storefront was broken out. We came, boarded it up. While it was boarded up, they took the boards down, put the boards back up, and we're inside. I had a building full of feces. All of my copper, my HVAC was gone. All of my Freon lines from my HVAC was gone. My electrical panel was removed. I spent $72,000 in the past 24 months putting this building back together. Been reimbursed $41,000 from insurance for that. I'm in the construction business and deal with architects on a daily basis. I had graffiti on the back side of this building. The entire north side of this building, we had to do an extensive waterproofing on, which brought sealant up about 24 inches on the brick, then it transfers to metal. We have replaced the gutters. That's cleaned up a little bit. My point here is that this isn't a reckless painting of a building because someone is ignoring something. And we should have gone through the correct, I know scenic river overlay. It's not the first time I've put something through here. That was an oversight. That decision was made during the middle of trying to put this building back together over the past 18 months. What should we do? I love blonde brick buildings. When the tenant painted the building that I own south of this black, I went crazy. In my lease with Price Edwards, it says you have to have my sign off and it has to go through proper committee. So I was really disappointed. So I'm not a fan of painting brick. In this case, I didn't really know what other choice I had. It's very difficult to get blonde brick graffiti off and make it look the same, especially when you have the deep reveals in this type of brick. So yeah, I get it that it shouldn't have been painted without the permission of the committee. If you would have looked at the photos that I was looking at back then, you might have said, go pay someone and see if they can remove it and come back and talk to us, but you likely would have approved it. And I get that this stuff's important, but we are dealing with a daily crime zone down here. Our buildings are being defaced weekly. Go pull up Josh Livingston, my cell phone number with the action line. I'm probably the VIP of the action line. Pretty sure I'm about to be blocked. So I'm giving you an excuse, I guess, that, you know, and when you're watching something that you have paid a lot of money for be destroyed, all of the hot team cops know me. All of the downtown cops know Josh Livingston. Now, they know how much time I put into it. Jody and Bert, they know how much time I put into the district. You know, been down there, one of the original current generation folks that have been down there trying to make things better. So yeah, I apologize for putting us all in the situation that I have to ask for forgiveness for painting the building white to cover up the graffiti that was on portions of the building. I wasn't involved with the window replacement. I've only replaced the windows that have been broken since I've owned the building. I removed the awning because it was structurally unsound, it was rotted, and it was ugly. And it was not a part of the original part of the building, and I think that's probably easy. The good news is this building is under contract to a pool service company based in Norman looking to expand to Oklahoma City, so they're setting up a service branch in downtown. I have to be a salesman to these new owners to promise them that someday this will be safe. The building to the south sold a couple of months ago, the one I mentioned that's black, to a commercial wrecking company that is an active and successful commercial demolition company. I didn't want to sell either of these buildings. Clay Moss will tell you, I said, you know, I'm finally selling buildings because it's the only way to get people in them because it's very hard to rent them. I make a good enough deal, get an owner in there, get employees coming every single day. Maybe my other buildings in the district will deal with us less. So that's my 2 cents. I ask for your grace and forgiveness for the white paint so that we could proceed with closing the building and get this pool company in there and take another step to trying to solve the problem that none of us have been able to solve as a community down here yet. Thank you.
Thank you. This time, further discussion or a motion? Happy to entertain.
I'd like to go ahead and make a motion to approve the application for painting the building, included the unpainted brick, removing the awning, and replacing the windows on the basis that the project complies with the regulations and guidelines of the Scenic River Overlay Design District zoning ordinance as referenced in Section C of the staff report.
Templeton second.
Lyons, your vote, please.
Thank you.
Motion passes. Item 7A, Spud 01658.
I will just go this way. This is a request for rezoning. As you know, you make recommendations to the Planning Commission on rezonings. And so you have 2 on your agenda today. This particular one was rezoned back in 2010 to a PUD. So that was prior to, well, that was actually after the Scenic River was created. But there had been no movement on this one at all. It's currently vacant, as you can see from these pictures. It happens to be, so this is at the corner of Portland and Southwest 15th, looking northwest. And we have a mattress warehouse. This is the entrance to the City of Oklahoma City facility that's at that location. That's all back in here. And then at the corner, there's a fairly large gas station convenience store. I'll go back to here. So I actually had gotten 2 phone calls in the 9.5 years I've been here on this property. And both times, the issue was the fact that the PUD that was written, and it was for warehouses, just what we need on the river. But the overhead doors could not face 15th Street. One of the calls I got was from a local business who was expanding and was looking for a centrally located warehouse so they could distribute their product. And it's kind of exciting talking to somebody on the phone that you see in commercials on TV. And so that was an experience for me. But the issue with that, I mean, they were ready to buy it. The issue with that was they couldn't make it work if they couldn't put the doors facing 15th Street because of how the trucks were going to maneuver based on their design. So over a year ago, we started having meetings on this project, which is pretty exciting for having residential on the river, because isn't that what we want, for people to enjoy the river? This came in, and in my staff report, I talk about some of the uses that they're proposing, intended uses, and I list all that, which is, all the residential, different types of residential. They unfortunately had to rezone because all of the residential uses were not allowed in the PUD. And so I literally had no issues, as you can see from my staff report. And so I'm suggesting you provide a recommendation of approval to the Planning Commission. And the applicant is here, and I am going to scroll down to the site plan so that he can come up and introduce himself. And unless you have any questions for me, sorry, I jumped into that other. And he can talk about this project, answer any questions you might have.
Dean Colitas, Civil and Environmental Consultants, representing the applicant. So on this property, as she mentioned, there was multifamily zoning allowed, but with the duplex that we're planning, we need to go back and basically add duplex, but we didn't want to lose the multifamily from the original PUD. So essentially, we're adding the 2-family to get this project going, and I think there's plans to actually span to the west as well. Similar product and maybe a little bit more dense, but similar residential. So on this one here, we try to use the land. You can see the shape of it's pretty difficult to fit, any type of big multifamily building or whatnot. So the duplex units facing the river seem to work pretty well. Patios and the architectural renderings you can see here in a bit when we scroll to there. So pretty nice units, and then the elevations of the back, they'll have patios that kind of outlook the back with the upper deck as well. And so what we try to do is obviously have connectivity. We are planning to have some recreational facilities like some pickleball courts and community building, and also connect the trail to the river trail that's just adjacent to it. We worked with the fire marshal to fire chief to figure out the fire suppression and everything, or the fire lines and everything for public versus private. We got all that worked out. We worked with Berry Lodge on the all the drainage stuff, which is going to come later on in that application. But all in all, I think it fits pretty well with the property, and I think we'd have a little bit of some variances from the River Scenic Code when it comes to setbacks from the floodway, but due to the property and closest to it, really without varying those a bit, there's really no way to develop this at all. So those are kind of really the only changes we had that affect the actual current overlay setbacks from the floodway. So that's really the biggest change, I'd say. But all in all, I think it fits pretty well, and it'll be a great product for the area. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you.
Sure.
Any questions for the applicant? Or further discussion or motion?
I'd like to make a motion to provide a recommendation of approval to the Planning Commission on the basis that the project complies with the intent of the Scenic River Overlay Design District zoning ordinance as referenced in Section C of the staff report.
Prado, second.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
And I believe this goes to the Planning Commission on the 22nd. 22nd? Yeah, okay. Moving on.
Item 7B, PUD 02009.
So some of you might, I'm trying to think if any of you were on here in 2016. Dana, were you? Okay. So you might remember when the original Wheeler PUD came through, and it was one like we've never seen before. And there was a presentation given on that project prior to the PUD coming through. And so if you've not been over that way lately, you ought to go and drive through it. Maybe go visit somebody you might know that lives in there. Or go to Clarity Coffee that's in there. I think there's a taco place in there as well. Go ride on the Ferris wheel. So this PUD is for the eastern expansion, which is on the other side of Western. And most of it is vacant. There is a pump jack. I cleaned that up and said oil production. I mean, that some people might think that sounds better. And on the left here, you see off in the distance the current Wheeler, and on the right is the proposed expansion. And now this is looking back the other way. So there happens to be an area that we thought was going to be included. It's not currently. They're hoping that it can still be. But that is the area that on that conceptual plan was shown blue, because we thought it was all going to get worked out before the hearings, and so it was going to stay. And so this is what's on that piece. And then this is looking at Wheeler. I kind of think this is interesting picture with the colors and the shape. And if you need to know where it is, Clarity is in the corner right here, if you're out that way. And so the buildings I was referring to is what's located in this blue area that says not included. And then you can see this is where the current Wheeler is. And then this one over in here, which is not in Scenic River, is the school, where the school is. So I'm going to leave it here and just indicate that, as I said, they're proposing an expansion across Western. And there were some differences. And the original PUD had a difference in the criteria for when a certificate of approval was required. And so this proposed one is proposing buildings greater than 20,000 square feet with frontage along the river would be the only ones required to get a CA. A little different than the original one, but they have their own design review body that reviews everything before it can even come in for a permit. And I have it on good authority that they don't accept just everything, and they do make people change things if they don't agree with what that proposed change is, or different from what their guidelines are. So we support the proposed threshold, and as I stated, for those projects not subject to a certificate of approval, they're going to be reviewed by the Wheeler District's Design Review Board. And included in your packet was that really thick document, which has all the Wheeler criteria in it. There are uses that they're including that are allowed in DTD2, but they're not allowed in Scenic River. And so I had, because their base zoning is DTD2, so it gets a little confusing. But I pointed out those uses that were either prohibited or were allowed as a conditional use. And the development is going to be controlled by modified use regulations of DTD2, and staff has no issues with what's proposed, because obviously they're not going to do anything that's detrimental to their development. And they've got pictures of what's out there now, and as I said, if you've not been there, you need to just go out there and drive around, because it's different than any development that's going on anywhere else. So staff is recommending that you provide a recommendation of approval to the Planning Commission This also is scheduled to go on the 22nd of August. And we happen to have the developer represented here with actually someone from the development team as well as their attorney. And I'm just going to, do you have any questions for me before I scroll on down to their picture? No? Okay. And you can tell me when you want me to change it or whatever and all of that, so.
Okay, thank you. Caitlin Turner, 522 Colcord Drive, here on behalf of the applicant. As Laura stated, this is an expansion of the existing Wheeler District that we all know and love. We are continuing the momentum in this area while continuing to respect the Riverfront and Western Avenue. There is a lot of mirrored provisions in the PUD before you. The perk of this application compared to the one that came to you all in 2016 is we do have a very impressive and successful example of what this will ultimately look like and the goals that are going to be achieved. We do have that threshold for CA requirements. It is similar to what was in the original PUD. However, we do limit it to what is along the riverfront. And as Laura had stated, there are extensive guidelines that Wheeler District has imposed and that we've included in this PUD. A lot of those restrictions and guidelines are even more restrictive than some of the ordinances that the code requires. And they, of course, have their own review team to act as a safeguard and make sure that the quality and product type is consistent with what you all see there today. So I'd be happy to answer any questions for you all, and we would ask for your recommendation of approval.
Thank you. Any questions for the applicant? Or discussion? Motion?
I would like to make a motion to provide a recommendation of approval to the Planning Commission on the basis that the project complies with the intent of the Scenic River Overlay Design District zoning ordinance as referenced in sections C and D of the staff report.
I'd like to second that motion.
Wait a minute, you seconded before she finished reading? Oh, wow, you're fast, okay.
We're just competing to approve this?
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, that was officially your last motion.
Item 8, communications.
So, on Tuesday, City Council adopted the Committee Commission Consolidation Ordinance, which will become effective the end of this month. So with that, that officially makes this your last meeting. And all cases for Scenic River Overlay Design District will now start going to the Urban Design Commission. It's been a privilege to work with you, some longer than others. Your knowledge, your input has been very appreciated. And I've been back here since March 2015, so I've really enjoyed working with this group. And your dedication and commitment to the city is admired and appreciated, and I want to thank you for that. So, but Scott will get the wrath of me next time I see him because he ruined your perfect attendance today. So, and I have something I got to say at the end instead of what Ricardo usually says, but I didn't know if
Certainly,
anybody
yeah.
else.
Any additional comments from committee members? I know, but personally, I just wanted to say it's been an honor serving with each and every one of you. So appreciate your time and enjoyed being here with you.
Likewise.
I would like to say, if anybody would like to recycle their notebook, they can call me and I will meet them at the curb and get it from them. So, because some of the items in it are still valid and I can always use the notebook. So keep that in mind. And so, what I'm going to say is that after August 30th, 2024, all certificates of approval for cases in the Scenic River Overlay Design District will be heard by the Urban Design Commission, which meets on the fourth Wednesday of each month. The next scheduled meeting of the Urban Design Commission where items in the Scenic River Overlay Design District could be considered will be Wednesday, September 25th, 2024. And on that note, let's hear the gavel for the last time.
Of course. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.